Leading a startup team, whether you're delivering a sugar rush, stocking coffee, or getting a regular delivery of snacks, Office Depot has solutions that fit every startup culture, from getting those first business cards and stationery to ordering fleece pullovers with your new logo. To learn how Office Depot and the California Technology Council have partnered to bring you savings on all of these startup essentials and more, go to californiatechnology.org/member benefits. I'm Daniel Levine, and this is the Bio Report. Robert Goldman had been a successful Internet age inventor, having developed some of the critical technology underlying the way digital music is stored, searched, and purchased online. But when his sister developed cancer, he found himself turning his skills as an inventor into an uncharted area for him. Eventually, he developed a new type of catheter to deliver cancer medicines directly to where they're needed in the body. But despite his company's success at winning marketing clearance from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, his company Vascular Designs has had difficulty raising money. On October 17th, Vascular Designs launched an Indigogo campaign to raise $500,000 through the crowdfunding site. We spoke to Goldman about his IsoFlow catheter, the funding environment for innovative medical device companies, and his decision to turn to crowdfunding. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
We're going to talk about your company, Vascular Designs, its new IsoFlow catheter that enables direct delivery of chemotherapy to tumors, and your Indigogo campaign to fund production of the catheter and get it out to doctors. I'd like to start with your own story, though. You're not from the world of medical devices or oncology, but actually digital music. For people who are not familiar with you, can you begin with your role in the world of digital music?
Oh, absolutely. A long time ago, in last century, I filed a patent for the digital download of music over a communications network. Not seeing the internet, but had the idea that people would want to get digital delivery versus going, to a retail outlet. The communications network that evolved became the internet. And so my patents then covered all digital delivery of music content being downloaded over the internet.
How do you go from that digital music world to the world of oncology?
Well, it's an unfortunate story. My younger sister, Amy, developed colorectal cancer. When she was about 26 years old, and being an engineer and being a tech guy, I always had the feeling that technology can solve everything. So I used basically a technology approach to build a catheter which delivers chemotherapy directly to tumors, because that was what I read when I was looking at studies as far as potential treatments, and there was no existing device out there, and I decided it was my role to build it myself.
So what exactly was the problem you were trying to solve?
Well, the issue is with chemotherapy is the dose response curve. As I learned, the amount of chemo required to kill a tumor in many cases actually will kill the patient first. And so what I was trying to do was to prevent systemic exposure to the chemotherapy and deliver the chemotherapy directly to the targeted. It just made sense. Why treat the entire patient when you're just trying to target one specific location? And that became kind of the genesis for Vascular Designs and the IsoFlow catheter.
Well, as you engaged with this world, both on the research side and on the product side, was there a problem getting people to take you seriously?
There was, but I think as I was speaking to some, very prominent oncologist and interventional radiologist at Stanford. I think people were quite intrigued by the approach because it was novel, and because of my background, digital downloads that made the story a little bit more interesting, and so a number of doctors were very helpful in designing and helping with the device.
IsoFlow has an FDA marketed clearance as a Class 2 medical device. Is it being used today to treat patients?
No. So we treated, I think our last patient number was number 64. We treated a number of patients successfully, including our first patient was a woman who had a tumor on the top of her spine, and she was paralyzed. And we went in there with the catheter and actually reduced the size of the tumor, which enabled her to walk again. So we've had some pretty amazing successes with the device. Unfortunately, we hit a pretty bad funding climate environment, and we ran low on funds, so we had to stop treating patients. The purpose of the crowdfunding campaign is to bring the catheter back to market so we can treat more patients and also create other iterations so we can treat different areas.
Well, how does the IsoFlow work?
Well, there's two balloons, and so it's a dual balloon catheter, and with the catheter, there's a blood bypass which lets blood continue to flow through the device, and we place the catheter of the tumor between the two balloons, so it creates a chamber. And so when we infuse into that chamber, the only place that the chemotherapy or the embolics can go is directly into the tumor itself.
And what does this do? What does this make possible that wasn't possible before?
Well, what makes possible is actually directed and targeted delivery. So, for example, if you just stuck a microcatheter up a vessel, the embolic could spread anywhere, and it usually does. With this treatment, we can actually just capture the vessel that's feeding the tumor and localize the delivery directly into the tumor.
Obviously, you're not from this world, as we mentioned. What was it like working with FDA and winning a clearance of the device? I take it wasn't a one-shot deal for you.
No, it wasn't. Well, I brought together a lot of very qualified people to help with the submission, but it took us 4 tries to get through the FDA. The novel part was, as I understand it, it's very rare for an individual to actually get a device approved by the FDA.
So you actually went to the FDA as an individual?
As an individual, yes. I was a company of one. But people, I would say with the FDA, they went through the process, but there was an indication. They understood the value of the treatment. So we went back and forth just for the issue of making sure it was a safe device, which it obviously is. And on the 4th time, we got the clearance. And interestingly, their notification went into my junk mail, so I actually didn't know for another week.
Another project for you on spam filters, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
What? So is there? You mentioned this was used in 64 patients, I believe. What does the data show about that it actually provides better outcomes for people who use it?
Well, with the issue with medical devices, they're usually, it's not an issue of long-term studies. It's just more observational analysis. And firstly, we caused no harm for many patients, which of course is the important issue. And we did get complete tumor fill on a number of patients, and we have images to show that.
And at this point, am I correct to understand you just haven't been out in the marketplace?
Well, we've been off the market for a couple of years because of the lack of funding. In the Bay Area, there's a lot of VC money, but most of it is really towards technology. And medical device funding is a very small amount of the VC funding, and it is fairly difficult to raise money in the traditional sense. And so that's why we are pursuing the crowdfunding alternative.
Well, what about in terms of getting doctors to adopt the technology? Do you see that as a challenge going forward?
No, we've had a number of doctors use the device, and we're very, very happy with it. And I continually receive calls from physicians around the world looking to order the device.
Well, let's talk about the Indiegogo campaign. You're seeking to raise $500,000. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how's the funds going to be used?
That's going to be used to bring the device back onto the market for manufacturing. And there are a couple iterations that we'd like to make it. We'd like to use the device to make it a little more trackable, a little easier to use.
It's an unusual route. Is that enough money to do what you need to do to make this a viable product in the market?
It is, because to bring it back into manufacturing, there's very little engineering that needs to be done. Because we've already done that work. It's already been on the market, so everything is completely in place. So it's just the ordering of the parts and the raw materials to bring it back to manufacturing.
We're certainly in a different finance environment than we were in 2009. Have you had any new conversations with either angel investors or venture capitalists, or even potential partners?
Well, we have had a number of conversations with potential partners. So when we had to pull it off the market, we were pretty far down the road with a number of potential partners or acquirers. So we just had a few more milestones that we had to hit to trigger, I would say, the interest. But we weren't quite able to make it. The issue right now, still in 2016, there are very, very few device VCs out there. It's not as difficult to do drugs, get drugs approved because of the endpoint and the data and the financial return. But devices are still kind of the orphan child of VC funding.
And what's the pitch to potential crowdfunders through Indigogo?
The pitch is basically to pay it forward. Everyone has been affected either directly or indirectly from cancer. And so what the appeal is an honor or memory of a cancer survivor or somebody who passed away from it. Just pays it forward to help others.
And is there anything an investor gets in return other than the satisfaction of knowing they've helped cancer patients?
Oh, absolutely. So what we're doing is, for the holidays, we are sending out cards on the person's behalf to say that they're helping another person in honor or memory of another. So people are notified, friends and relatives, that we're out there, helping. And we also have a couple of interesting perks. One is that you actually can put a message on the barcode of the product, so that every time that the product is used, you effectively, in a spiritual sense, are there with the patient. So that's a very interesting way. But it really, we're trying to create this feeling of closeness with the patient, and we also are putting in the box a list of the people that have contributed, and that's going to be included with the instructions for use for the catheter. So it'll go into the IR suite with the device.
Ultimately, do you expect to find a partner to make this on a longer term basis a commercial product?
Oh, absolutely. We were down the road, pretty far down the road with doing that process. So the device itself, is a commercial will be commercially available, so physicians will be able to use it. But we are absolutely looking for a much wider distribution of the device going forward. And
the Indiegogo campaign officially launches when, and how long will it run?
It launches on Monday. Let me just get the date for you.
It's October 17th?
October 17th, thank you. And we'll go for 30 days.
Right. Well, best of luck to you, Robert. Robert Goldman, CEO of Vascular Designs. The crowdfunding campaign launches October 17th on Indigogo. Robert, thanks so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening. The Bio Report is a production of the Levine Media Group. To automatically download this podcast each week, subscribe to our RSS feed or through iTunes or other podcast manager. To join our mailing list, go to levinemediagroup.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line or are interested in sponsoring this podcast, send email to danny@levinemediagroup.com. Special thanks to Jonah Levine, who composed our theme music, and the Jonah Levine Collective, which performs it.